Now you need to understand basic concept of virtualization that is facilitated by ReadyAPI. That is something which we need to understand. Now, I'll recap the definition of virtual service. It's nothing but it's a simulated fake representation of your real service. Now, what this virtual service contains? It contains your stub that defines request and what response that particular request will send to the client. Fine. For others who are using your virtual API, they will feel that it is the real API. So after testing is done, when real in production they have to just go and change the endpoint to the production. That's what they have to do. Also, your virtual service that you're creating is not capable of running on its own. You need a runner, and that runner is something which is provided by ReadyAPI. So ReadyAPI provides you runner to run your virtual service that you are going to create. Now, these virtual services are termed as virtual API in case of ReadyAPI. So don't get confused when I say virtual service and virtual API. There are multiple different ways to create virtual APIs, and we will see there. But before we go ahead, we need to understand that in ReadyAPI, how virtual service works. And it is entirely similar. Believe me, you'll be able to connect with what we have discussed earlier in WireMock also, or even in Postman. So what we do here, you will have a virtual service. I mean to say your virtual service will receive a request. When it receives the request, what it does, it finds out virtual operation on basis of what? On basis of matching request. That this is what you need to remember. But before we move there and see the sequence of activity that is done, these are some of the capabilities which are provided by ReadyAPI from perspective of service virtualization. It provides you capacity or capability to create, run, manage virtual services. So what I need to do, what I need to know how I need to create a virtual service, how I need to configure a virtual service, how I need to run a virtual service, how I need to manage a virtual service. So as a ReadyAPI professional, these are the things that I need to know. So you can start working on code and test before developer finishes implementing the API operations. Obviously, you can create client code and test even if some operations are not available. Obviously, we have discussed that. Service virtualization helps to quickly create working mocks of web service. No doubt about it. We have done that in WireMock as well. Developers and QA engineers can work in parallel. I mean to say they can utilize the same virtual service. What all are the supported virtual service protocols or services? You have SOAP, Simple Object Access Protocol. So there are still certain web services which are made using SOAP. REST, we have seen that in WireMock. JMS, TCP, JDBC. So this is what is scope of virtualization. So if someone is saying that, okay, what type of services I can virtualize in ReadyAPI? You can virtualize SOAP, you can virtualize REST, you can virtualize JMS, you can virtualize TCP, you can virtualize JDBC. So assume that you are using a JMS compliant MOM and that code of middleware is still not ready. But your application needs call to that JMS service for put message, get message. So you don't need to create a real JMS compliant environment. You can do that in your ReadyAPI by virtualizing JMS service. Similarly, JDBC database. So depends what actually is your need and how you want to cater that particular need. Fine. Now, in ReadyAPI, you can create virtual service that emulates behavior. You can create REST from scratch. See, these are the different ways in which you can create a virtual service. Create from REST, I mean to say from scratch. Use OpenAPI Swagger or WADL specification, and other is Discover. So it contains Discovery API that helps you to quickly create your virtual service and add operations to it.